Hey folks, David Watts here. Appreciate so many of you that have subscribed recently. I hope you're enjoying Luminar 2018 especially. And I try to make videos like these to help you think of things you might want to do with your photos. I'm always trying to think of new approaches and new techniques, and maybe you are too. And I hope these little videos will give you some ideas of things you can try with your photos. What I have for us to consider today is a few portrait type techniques. This image is from a recent photo shoot I did in the New York City area, and fantastic model, and we found some really great sort of natural available light, and this was one of those images, and I thought it might be useful to show you just a couple of possible techniques for your portrait work, and you'll have to see if these work for you, but they kind of work for me, and maybe it'll work for you. One of the first things I thought I might show you, this is the raw file. This was shot with a Fuji X-T2, and if we double click, and you can double click to zoom in at 100%, what you'll be able to see, and this was at 3200 ISO, you'll be able to see there's definitely some noise there. Let's flip over to the JPEG file. Same file. You had the camera set to shoot JPEG and RAW simultaneously. And if we do the 100% zoom in, and compare those images, here's the JPEG, here's the RAW, and you'll see the RAW definitely has more noise. Well, that's because the JPEG processing engine in most cameras will apply some noise reduction based on the settings you have in the camera, and that does make a difference. Depending on your purpose and your goal, it can make the skin look a little waxier here, you might say. And so one of the first things I'll show you real quick, if you shoot RAW, let's go back to sort of a normal view. Actually, we want to keep that because that's the best way to see the effects of the denoise filter. Over here in Issue Fixer is the denoise filter. And so I just wanted to show you briefly, if you click, and sometimes this is a good way to do it, click about halfway and then give it a second and see what those results are. And you'll probably say, oh, that's a little too much noise reduction. Then back it off halfway and see what you like about that. And so just wanted to show you that that's, what you get with JPEG files is essentially the noise reduction is pre-applied, plus the processing engine has thrown away a lot of data to get you down to the JPEG file. So if you prefer to craft your own image precisely, the raw file will be best for you. Again, here we are with the untouched JPEG straight out of the camera, and then here's the raw file with a little bit of noise reduction applied. We're going to ignore the question of noise just for the purposes of this. Let's get back to normal view and just show you a couple of quick techniques. Here's number one. You have this filter, if I can find it again. Where did it go? And that's, here we go, dramatic. And one of the things you typically are trying to achieve with the portrait images is a nice look to the overall image. You like some sharpness, some clarity, but most often for our models, especially women, they appreciate a little bit of skin smoothing, and it's good to keep it realistic. But here's an approach to kind of get the best of both worlds, and that is take this dramatic slider and you can crank this up a little bit to give it a more dramatic feel. Let's just say that's what you're looking for. And again, this is going to vary with your taste and your aesthetic, but let's say that's what you're looking for in this kind of image. Here's the original RAW and here's the new RAW. The problem is that introduces some grittiness to her face, and we don't like that. So here's step one. With the brush on the filter, click brush, and then up here it's probably going to default to paint. Instead, shift it to erase and select the right brush size, and then erase this effect from our model's face. All right, so you see what we're doing here. We're returning it back to the way the original raw file was as it relates to her face and her skin in this area. If you click up here in the upper left, the little eye, you'll be able to see how we've removed this effect for most of her face. And if we've missed something, we can come along and better see how to get it all, how to get rid of it all. Okay. So that's the first thing. So what we've done is we've added some a little bit of dramatic perspective to the image, but preserved. There's the original image. There's where we are so far. We've preserved some reasonable skin smoothness. Now you might say, yeah, well, we need a little more skin smoothness, and I think that would be typically appropriate. So I like to come to the structure filter, and then again back it off about halfway. Now this is going to apply to the whole image, and often it'll be a little too much if you start halfway. But again, we're going to use the brush. We're going to select filter. We're going to select the brush on the filter. But remember, the last time we used it, it was set to erase. So we need to come back and change it to paint. This time we want to paint in that filter only on our model's skin. And typically we want to avoid the eyes, maybe the eyebrows as best we can. Just hit the areas that really need it the most. Sometimes the models appreciate it on their lips as well, if they might have had dry lips or something. In any case, now what we've done is applied some nice skin smoothing in addition to where we were when it came out of the camera. Now you're in a position to, we can even zoom in a little bit more. Let's click done. We can look at it from that perspective. We can back it off a little bit if we think that's too much, or we can add more if we think we need just a bit more. Sometimes if we need even more, if we lower that structure, you can play with the softness slider and just make this a bit softer, or you can even boost it just a bit, and you see that brought back some more softness as well. So this would be one basic technique to add this dramatic filter, but then preserve the nice smoothness of the model's skin. So again, let's see, there's the original, and there's a little more dramatic look. Now we can use the same sort of thing. Let's delete all these filters. Use the same sort of thing if you want with some of the others. So clarity, for example, crank that up a bit. You'll see a lot more detail in the sweater and so forth. Again, come in, take the brush, erase it if you like from her face, so we preserve that looking the way it should. And when you have it right, we're just doing it super quick now. When you have it right, you might want to add the structure filter, crank it down just a bit. Again, use the brush, and this time, again, shifting from erase to paint, paint in some additional skin smoothing. I'm just being very quick so you can see the point. So again, it's a way to get you some extra clarity in the image, but not provide too much clarity to the skin. All right. One other sort of thing I'll show with this. Take, for example, you can do this with really any of these filters. Take the details enhancer. Not normally one you would use with a portrait. I just want to show what it does. Again, it can bring out some marvelous details and texture in this nice sweater, but of course you see what it does to the face. And again, same principle. We use the brush. We come up here to erase. Let's get rid of the filter on her face. Let's return it to the way it should be. So we've gained a lot of extra details in her hair, in her sweater and so forth. What we've been doing, what I've been showing you is add a filter, take the structure filter, for example, and crank that down, paint that in their face. But the other way to do it is to work with layers, and layers have a lot of power. So coming up here, click the plus symbol. I want to add a new adjustment layer. In this new layer now, let's use the structure filter. So we have our raw image layer down here, and that's where we did the detail enhancer. Now we've added another layer on top. We're going to crank the structure down. We're then, instead of brushing it in here, which we could do, but we're going to brush it in up here at the layer level. Again, we need to shift to make sure we're on paint. And we'll just sort of paint this in the area where we like to see the little bit of skin smoothing. One advantage of doing it this way is that you can label your layers. You can double click on this and call this skin smoothing. Okay? and then you'll have a little bit of a history that's really clear to you as to what you've done. The other advantage of this is you can fine-tune it even more with opacity. So if you bring down the opacity pretty far, you're letting more of the base image show through. So you can get a bit more realistic look this way. And you can even, if you get advanced, you can change some of the blending modes and so forth with that, but we won't get into that for this session. But it gives you that extra power. So yes, you can brush in filters individually, or just create a new layer. And within that layer, brush in that layer, because then you have the added dimension of this opacity. You can see if we crank the opacity down, it's like we've made the top layer 100% transparent. Everything from the bottom is coming through. If we crank it back up, now we've made the top layer more visible, and it has a larger impact. So it gives us another dimension for fine-tuning. Anyway, I hope these couple of ideas might help you with portrait work. Again, the basic principle is, you may want to crank up some of the filters for drama or details or clarity, but that can have a negative effect on the skin, on the face. So essentially unpaint the filter from the face. And then if you need more smoothing, because at that point you'll just be back to the raw image for the face. If you need more smoothing, then paint in a little reduced structure. And maybe that'll help you. I hope that sort of technique is useful, or at least interesting for your consideration. That's it for now. Hope you have a great day, and keep on having fun. I'll put a link in the bottom. I'm an affiliate for Luminar and MacFun, so yes, we do get a little bit of proceeds if you buy through us, but feel free to click on the link and you can explore their different products, and we appreciate it. And give us a thumbs up if you like the videos. Hope it helps. Have a great day.